So Zachary Levi is in a bit of trouble. He's been supporting some anti-vaccine tweets. We're actually gonna go into it. Um, and the thing is, this is going to be I want to have a discussion. That's what I love doing on my channel. I love just having discussions with people I agree, disagree, whatever. And usually I just want to converse. At the end of the day, that's the only thing as humans we can do. Now, I'm going to clarify, we're going to talk about transphobia and anti-vaccination. That is what people are alleging that Zachary Levi is. Now, I do want to also clarify, I do not know Zachary Levi personally. I don't know what he thinks in person. At the end of the day, there's a difference between people on social media and people in person. People are much more different in the real world. And I think that's a lot of this is what a lot of the people that are criticizing Zachary Levi really are. A lot of these people are just people who are so terminally online, have never had a real job outside in the real world, that a lot of them don't really know how to have these conversations. Now, me, I am not a conservative. In fact, I disagree with literally 90% of conservatism. I don't care what anyone says. I am not a conservative. I'm more on the left. I wouldn't say I'm a liberal, but I am left-leaning. I believe a lot more left beliefs. I'm very progressive, as I like to say. I believe that trans people deserve to have a right in this world. I think gay people should have a right in this world. I believe everyone should have a right to do whatever they want as long as they aren't harming anybody else. That's what my core belief is. So when it comes to the transgender topics, I'm all in. You know, if you want to transition, that is up to you. That is your body, your choice. That is what I believe. But the same thing goes with vaccinations. Now, before I get into my thoughts on the vaccine things, I actually want to read what Zachary Levi put out. So Lyndon Wood, I'm not sure who this person is, but this is a business person, and he puts out, do you agree or not? The Pfizer is a real danger to the world. Zachary Levi posted this putting hardcore agree and puts this emoji. Then after that, he put out this next tweet. And I guess he was responding to all the allegations. This was put at 3:32 a.m. What the fuck's he doing at 3 a.m.? Oh, so yeah, god dang. What were you doing late at night, bro? Like, go to sleep, bro. My dad's always told me nothing good happens after midnight. Nothing. He says, just go to bed. Ignore everything else, all right? But 3 a.m., he puts this, and he says, just one example of what I'm referring to. And the article comes from the United States Department of Justice. It says, Justice Department announces largest healthcare fraud settlement in its history. All right? Now, y'all can go read that. You can find that on Zachary Levi's Twitter. So, really, I'm not going to go into details on it, but that is something that's very against Pfizer's. We'll get into that tweet in a bit, but let me erase this tweet. So, this is what I think about vaccine. So, I'm vaccinated. I got vaccinated around January of 2020. No, my first vaccine was in January 2022. I think I got my second dose in February of 2022. However, I'm not going to lie to you right now. I was incredibly skeptical before I got vaccinated. I remember all I kept thinking was, is the vaccine even safe? Is it good? Right? I know there was Moderna. I know there was Pfizer's. And I can't remember what else there was. But I know there was, like, I think 3 options, maybe more. I don't remember. But I remember I was very skeptical. Now, I do want to clarify, I'm also born and raised in Texas. Where I'm recording right now, I'm in Texas. So I am very used to hearing conservative views. I know it's weird. Like, a lot of my friends like notice that I'm very against conservative ideals. I am very respectful. I do think as long as you respect me, I'll respect you. As long as you respect other human beings, that's cool. And I'm not saying conservatives are bad people in general. I just think there's a lot of bad beliefs in there. But one thing I've always been for is asking questions. I've always believed in asking questions. That is part of the reason why I left Christianity. I just couldn't ask questions. I got in a lot of trouble, and now I'm no longer Christian. I consider myself agnostic. And I know a lot of people that are conservative Christians are going to now click out on the video. But the one thing I do believe in is in asking questions. I think everything you do in life, you should be able to ask something, because at the end of the day, we live in the freest country in the world. We live in the amazing country of America, of freedom. I know a lot of Americans, I know that's the one thing I hate about the left. On the left, there's so many anti-Americans. It's like, bro, America's so much better than literally 95% of countries out there. Like, we are so much better. You have more human rights here. You have the freedom to say whatever you want. The fact that Zachary Levi can go out and put this publicly, that's freedom right there. This is freedom, baby. Right? And I say this because I have immigrant parents. My mom and dad both legally came to this country. And I kind of came up knowing that this is so much better than Mexico, than El Salvador, than Honduras, whatever other country out there. America, you have the freedom to express what you believe, right? And that's why I've always loved about America. You can ask the questions. That is what you need in society. And I remember when the vaccines were first coming out, I started asking questions. I said, is this safe? Is this good? Is it not? The only thing is I was very private about it because I used to be afraid of getting canceled online until I realized, no, I shouldn't be afraid to get canceled. I know I'm not a bad person. I'm just asking questions, right? And then eventually I did get the vaccine, not because my job didn't mandate. My job, they were. I think literally I was the only vaccinated person at my job that was working at the time. But I remember I was like one of the few, but I still got vaccinated because I was like, hey, you know what? I just don't want to have any hassle, whether it's if I travel or whatever, because I know at the time you had to be vaccinated in order to travel through plane, I think, or whatever. But eventually I did come around. I was like, hey, you know what? All my friends got the vaccine. You know, they look good. So I decided, hey, why not? But I've always been in the belief that, hey, if you're concerned about the vaccination, you should have the choice not to be vaccinated, right? And I know there's a lot of data saying that Pfizer's is good, this and that, but you're still injecting something to your body. I think you should be able to ask the questions. And with Zachary Levi's tweets, all he's really saying is Pfizer is a danger. And the article he shared was something against Pfizer. He didn't say all vaccines, by the way. He's just saying Pfizer, right? And the thing is, these are big corporations. You don't know their motives. You don't know what they'll do to you. You don't know what they want to do, right? We've seen time and time again that big companies do not care about the consumers. We've seen time and time again that big companies, their main belief is making money, right? And so I'm actually fine with Zachary Levi's anti-vax tweets. Now, I'm not anti-vax. I do believe you should vaccinate your children and all that. But I do think you should also be allowed to ask questions, to be concerned, right? It's your body, your choice. The same way that I'm pro-abortion, it's also the same way that I'm pro supporting people's right to vaccinate themselves or not, right? My only issue is when people start making lies about it. Like, I remember, who was a rap? Was it Cardi B? I don't remember if it was Cardi B, but I remember there was like some big rapper saying that the vaccine shrunk one of her friend's boyfriend's penis. And I was like, okay, there you're kind of, now you're just being stupid. I think even Candace Owens supported it. And it was like the dumbest thing. Like, there is like, once you're lying about it, there. But as somebody who's vaccinated, I can confirm my penis was already shrunk years ago. I'm just kidding, by the way. But no, about this tweet, you know, that's my belief in vaccines. I know I hope everyone gets vaccinated. I do believe that vaccines have been good. I've not gone COVID since. I've not had any medical issues. At most, I was probably just a little tired and on my second dose, or no, I think it was my first dose. I was just tired for a bit, and that was it. Nothing out of the ordinary as of yet. Although, you know, although I will say I had the sudden urge to buy Microsoft products. I'm just kidding, because I got the Bill Gates chip. I remember I remember I knew a person that actually genuinely believed that. I don't know. Maybe it is. Who knows? You know, I'm just kidding about the Microsoft thing, but that's my belief on the anti-vax thing. So I'm actually okay with Zachary Levi putting this out, because at the end of the day, he's not saying everyone don't get vaccinated. What he's just saying is, hey, Pfizer just comes off as suspicious. And you know what? Why do we need to bend the knee to these big corporations? Why do we need to worship them as if they're the second coming of Jesus Christ, right? Like, we act as if we need to not ask any, like, that's not what the world should be. This feels like a matrix. You can't just suck up to one company, and then anytime somebody like Zachary Levi comes around to ask the questions, you shouldn't just pussy out and be like, oh my god, you want people to die. No, he's just wondering, is this big corporation really doing what they genuinely think is right? That's why when Letitia Wright was getting canceled for this, I was like, what? She didn't even put out anything. I think all she did was put out questions about the vaccine. That's all she did, right? I don't know if there's any other actors or actresses that have come out as anti-vax. I don't know, but Letitia Wright, I remember, I will admit, back in the day when the Letitia Wright stuff was coming out, I remember I used to be so pussy on YouTube. I actually never really said my real beliefs. Now I am like, hey, I don't care. That's what my channel is. My channel is to give you my perspective and for you guys to commentate on my perspective, so that way we can have a conversation. Maybe one of us will change our minds. I don't know. That's not the point of my conversation. My point of conversations is to see what you think, what I think, and then see what we can do. about it, you know? So there's that. And I know Zachary Levi's from Texas. The thing is, you have to understand is in Texas, there's like certain beliefs. I'm from, again, like I said, I'm born and raised in Texas. I live in Texas. I've never known how to live outside of Texas. So in Texas, it's normal to see more people that are very anti-vax. And that's all right. That's all right. As long as you're not like making out lies and anything. All Zachary Levi is doing here is asking questions about the vaccine. And again, I'm vaccinated. I've been vaccinated for way over a year now. So there's that. Now, somebody wanted to put out this tweet. Rocky Waste Yard says, how is anyone surprised about Zachary Levi's tweet when this exists? Now, I can't confirm if this tweet's real, but we're just going to go with the assumption it is. So he tweeted out, and it doesn't even show you the date. That's the thing I find most sus. And with all due respect to you, saying that men can't lead meaningful conversations about sexism and that white people can't lead meaningful conversations about racism is both sexist and racist. Truth doesn't care about privilege, nor do those who seek it. And I'm assuming the person he's responding to deleted their tweet. Usually if you see that, that's what it means. And I'm going to say this right now. He's not wrong about this. He's not wrong, right? We live in this time where white men aren't allowed to say anything without being called racist or sexist or anything. Now, yes, historically in America, white people have had far more privilege, historically speaking. Whether you want to go back to slavery, whether you want to go back to the civil rights era, whatever you want to talk about, white men have had far more privileges. And I do believe currently you still have, like some people did benefit from slavery. I do think that white men do have some advantages that a lot of other races or genders, what they, like they have advantages. But the thing is, it's not as heavy as advantage as you want. One of my issues with the left is you want to condemn white guys and say that all white guys are evil. Imagine some like white guy who's like a truck driver. And by the way, truck drivers are essential. I think every job really is essential. But imagine some like truck driver coming home from a 9-to-5 job, or not even 9 to 5, but like let's say they worked a 12-hour shift. And imagine they get home. They just want to sit on their couch. They live in a house with, 2 bedrooms. They have kids to provide for. They have a wife and all that. Imagine they show up and some random white girl with no experience out there, right? Imagine some random white girl shows up out of nowhere on his like social media feed or maybe on TV or whatever and says, you have a privilege. How do you think that guy is going to feel? This is why I think people should have more conversations, much more meaningful conversations. Because at the end of the day, right, a lot of people that are going into politics or whatever are just normal people. Imagine being told you're privileged even though you're struggling with your 9-to-5 job and you have kids and a wife to provide for, right? And so I do believe that white guys can get it. It should be. I think anyone should have conversations. This is what I was saying about earlier. You can't be complacent. You should be able to ask questions. I don't care what gender, what race, ethnicity you are. I think everyone should be able to ask questions. I think everyone should. Right? And so I do think white men can have conversations, especially when a lot of these conversations are against white men. Who better to have a conversation with than a white man himself? Right? It's like too many people on social media want to have this victim complex. It's the thing that really frustrates me. I remember I was talking to my sister earlier about it was like, or not earlier, but this was like months ago, about abortions and like how that she was saying how like men shouldn't be able to make laws. Or shouldn't? No, that's not what she said. What she was saying is that men shouldn't be able to have the conversation with a woman about abortion. And I said, then how do you have the conversation? Are you just supposed to be complacent? I'm somebody who is pro-choice. I think if you want an abortion, you should get it. I think doctors and hospitals should be able to provide you that necessity. I do think I am pro-choice. I am pro-abortion. And I'll always be very vocal about that. But at the end of the day, I also believe that everyone should be able to have a conversation. And in fact, if you do actually care about pro-choice, or if you do care about any belief, whatever conversation you have, I think at the end of the day, you should be allowed to talk to another person. And if you want, try to get that person on your side. Because at the end of the day, the only way you can get somebody to believe what you believe is if you conversate them and treat them like a human. If all you're doing is saying, you're a white guy, so you're evil. You're the second coming of Adolf Hitler. It's like, what do you think that person's going to do? That person's going to think you're stupid and then go to the other side. It's like, at the end of the day, you're not helping anyone. All you're doing is just throwing people off, right? That's one of my criticisms as a leftist. That's one of my criticisms from the left, that a lot of leftists don't actually want to have conversations, and a lot of them just kind of push people away. Same thing with conservatism, don't get me wrong, but it's like, if we care about progressing the world, if we care about making the world better, then you should have the conversations. So this tweet right here, you know what? I'm actually with it. Now, I don't know what the truth he's talking. I don't know what the conversation is about, but no, white men should be able to talk about racism. And guess what? White women have highly benefited from society too, right? How often was it in the early 1900s that a white woman would claim rape from a black man and she would easily win? None of y'all have read To Kill a Mockingbird? So it's like white women, it's like weird because white women are the most preachy people on Twitter, but yet a lot of them did benefit from society at the time. You were white too. It's like, shut the fuck up. You're a white too. Like, it's like, if you want to tell men they shouldn't have the conversation, then what are you to speak? And it's weird because women also like having conversations about men. That's the thing I find really dumb. It's like, you say men can't have conversations about women, but women should have conversations about men. That's so dumb. That's so hypocritical, right? And I think women should conversate about men. But the thing is, men should also be able to conversate about women issues. That's kind of what I'm saying. And look, there is a difference. Like, if you talk about black people's issues, a black person will more than likely know far more than you. They have a different experience. They know what it's like to be black. And usually a white person can't say anything, or Hispanic or whatever. That's usually how it works. But you should still have that conversation. You should still be able to get in there, try to learn more, and try to do your best to explain your perspective. And then, hey, if that person disagrees with you, then their job is to best explain their position. So that way, that other person stops their position. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's really silly about this. So I'm actually with Zachary Levi on this specific tweet. I do think men should have conversations about sexism, because guess what? There is also sexism towards men. Now, yes, there's a higher, like, sexism has more affected women than men in society for centuries. Even now, if you go around the world outside of America, it still affects women far more than men, right? But there is still sexism towards men. There is still that can still happen, right? And same thing with race. I think if a Hispanic person wants to talk to a black person about, I don't know, Hispanic issues, I think everyone should be able to talk about it. I think everyone should. Now, yes, the person in that category, like if you're talking about Hispanic people, the Hispanic person will more than likely be able to talk to you about that, right? And that's kind of what I'm saying. So now let's get into the final thing. Now I watch Joe Rogan occasionally. I'm not like somebody who like watches everything. I'll watch a couple of things. But the one thing I've always come to realize about Joe Rogan is he's very, what you would call the straight man, where you're kind of just a normal guy and you're just kind of going with the flow, right? He's not like, he is very right leaning when you hear him. He's very right leaning. But the thing is, he's not just like this ultra conservative. Like, for example, one thing he believes in is he believes that weed should be legalized. Another thing is he believes that gay people should have rights to marry each other. He's constantly argued with Matt Walsh, with Steven Crowder, with Ben Shapiro. That's something a lot of leftists don't do, right? And yes, he's platforming them, but a lot of times he's not just sucking up to them. That's one thing I've come to notice. Now, I don't agree with a lot of what Joe Rogan has said. I think there's things that Joe Rogan has said that are really dumb. But he did invite Zachary Levi. Now, I actually had this saved on my Spotify because this was like months ago, I think. But I remember I wanted to see it, but I never really got a chance to listen. But that's what I've always liked about Rogan. He's very straight. He lets the guest speak. He's not just an egotistical maniac who doesn't allow his guests to speak. No, he allows them all to have a conversation. That's really what Joe Rogan is. And yes, there's a lot of stupid things that I think he believes, but at the end of the day, I'm just happy that he's what I think a lot of average Americans are. A lot of average Americans are just going with the news. They go with the one answer, but they're also willing to conversate. They're also willing to kind of get into details about this. That's the thing about Joe Rogan. Now, there was this video that Wolfie put saying, while everyone is dragging Zachary Levi for this, don't forget he was just on Joe Rogan's show admiring a transphobe and didn't say a word when Rogan misgendered Elliot's page. He's scum. I don't want to be that guy, but I look at this person's bio and all I think is this person doesn't have any real world experience. especially with the term Latinx, because I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this right now, as a Latino, no Latino uses that term. It's a dumb term for Latinos. And by the way, you can be transgender. That I'm completely fine with. I believe trans people have the right, but I'm sorry, that term is really stupid as a Latino. But let's watch this clip real quick, and we'll see. Also, if you're hearing rain in the background, I apologize. It's raining a lot where I'm at. But let's actually turn up the volume and go.
I think one of the deepest thinkers that I've ever heard break down like human behavior and I don't know, just an understanding of all that stuff, and I think good wisdom along with it is Jordan Peterson. I think if he would be a person that I would trust, I think that guy has a lot of integrity, and then, so I would that would be somebody too. But I also know Jordan has his own things that people have issues.
Remember that.
With like, I get it. Nobody's perfect. We're not going to find.
He's kicked off Twitter right now because he said something about Ellen Page, Elliot Page, called her Ellen Page. Like I think that was the number one thing. Yeah. The dead naming.
Yeah. And it's sad, man. Because again, like there's a lot of fear and pain and all that, all the sides of all that too.
My friend Brian Simpson had a very good thing to say about that. He was like, I come to you.
All right, we're gonna ignore this because for the rest of the clip, it's just Joe Rogan talking. So, and by the way, I think what Joe Rogan did was dumb, but you have to also realize that you have to, older people, whether you're above your 40s, 50s, a lot of people, it's like imagine being told your entire life that there's only men, women, and imagine being told years later that now men are transitioning to women, women transition to men. It's like it becomes difficult. Like even I will accidentally call, what's his name? Elliot Page. Yeah, I think is his name Elliot Page? I don't remember. I remember his old name was Ellen Page when he used to be a female. And the thing you have to realize is it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult. I know it's a dead name. I know it's horrible, but I do think you should also give Joe Rogan the benefit of doubt right there. I do. Again, there's a lot of his beliefs I disagree with. I think a lot of the things he said are dumb, but you can't just go with the whole no, you should be able to have a conversation with him. You should be able to correct him. You should be able to do this. You should be able to do that. Now about Zachary Levi himself, right? He supports, what he seemed to have said right here was he likes Jordan Peterson, right? He likes Jordan Peterson. He thinks that he has some good things to say, but he also at the same time acknowledges that there's controversial things that Jordan Peterson says. Now he doesn't outright say he hates Jordan Peterson, and usually a lot of celebrities will be very careful with dropping bombs or like trying to fire off on other people because that can be poor with the rest with their reputation. Now Jordan Peterson's a guy I do not respect. I've never been a fan of his. I've never really understood much of like what he's like. I've never really liked him, and I think they're actually I don't think that's actually what happened. I think what happened with Jordan Peterson is he quit Twitter because a lot of people were like making fun of him for saying there's like this model who was like a little chubbier. She wasn't fat, but she was like a little chubby. And she was like this very beautiful woman in a cover. And Jordan said, "You can never tell me to find her beautiful." And then people were like, okay, who cares? Like, don't watch the article. Like, that's all that happened. And Jordan Peterson went on this big crying rant. I think he quit Twitter. I think that's what happened. I do not remember anything about the misgendering thing. But Jordan is a guy who has a lot of beliefs that I completely fucking hate. Right? It's not just like Joe Rogan where I disagree. It's just that a lot of the things he says I completely fucking hate. He tries to act smarter than he actually is. But the thing I will say is the reason why a lot of people love Jordan Peterson is because he gives advice to men. This is why I keep telling women or anyone that stop shitting on men, because all you end up doing with that is when you shit on men, men will stop listening to you and they will go to other men for advice, for conversations. And guess what happened? Andrew Tate got popular because of that. Jordan Peterson got popular off of that. And Jordan Peterson, I've actually listened to some of his stuff on men, trying to better yourself, be the best version. And those are actually good things. So I actually understand why a lot of people actually like him. Although I do think a lot of his beliefs outside. Like, the issue with Jordan Peterson is he's really good at giving advice for men, but then he tried to get into politics. And that's when his entire reputation got fucked in the ass. That was the moment his entire career crumbled down, because now he wanted to do something that's not what he's always done. He was a male, he was like somebody who was for teaching men. That's what I even do in my channel. I try teaching to men because guess what? I'm a man, right? And so I like telling younger men, hey, be careful who you're having sex with. Hey, wear a condom, do this, do that. Be smart, be intelligent, stop being online all the time, right? And so I can get that a person like Zachary Levi would like Jordan Peterson. In fact, if you like Jordan Peterson, that's all right, as long as we can acknowledge that the things he's done in politics have been really, really dumb, like brain dead dumb, right? So that's the first thing that they got mad. They got mad at Zachary Levi. He didn't admire someone for their transphobic. He admired a guy who just happened to be transphobic, right? And he even acknowledges here that he's not perfect. He's acknowledging that Jordan is not this guy who you should worship. All he's saying is he likes Jordan because Jordan has said a lot of good things about men. I think a lot of young men can benefit from things he has said in the past. Now, I do think Jordan is a detriment to men in general. All right. And then he didn't say a word when Rogan misgendered Elliot Page. Well, what was he supposed to... Imagine how uncomfortable that would have been. You're invited to this guy's show, right? And imagine just like out of nowhere, somebody, like, the thing is, when you're with your friends, you're just going with the flow. You're just conversating about whatever, right? And the thing is, sometimes one of your friends is going to say something dumb. Trust me, one of my closest friends is a big Andrew Tate fan, right? And a lot of times I'm not going to correct him, but when the time has come, I will like tell him, no, Andrew Tate is not I'm very against Andrew Tate. I think Andrew Tate's a shithead person. I think any man who worships him is not a man at all. But anyways, it's like it's like, this is really nothing. This is nothing. Like, now, yeah, I'll question why Zachary, like, I do want to ask that question to Zachary Levi, but like in the flow right here, in this conversation that had nothing to do with transgenderism, in that part, it's like, how do you expect him to go with the flow? Like, again, he was invited to the show. There's a nice guy, right? And it's like, and look, what Joe Rogan did was shitty, but like, why do we have to completely... And it's weird because now you guys want to use this clip now that the anti-vax stuff came out. That's the thing that I find very suspicious with a lot of you guys, right? And I'm not saying Zachary Levi is perfect. I do question him on that part, but it's not like it was this evil thing that he did, right? All he did was not interrupt somebody. Realistically, again, I would like to ask Zachary Levi that question, but nothing I've seen today, as far as I've seen, and everything you've seen today is something that I've seen, right? I tried looking into everything, but all he's done is ask questions about the vaccine, or not just the vaccines in general. He's asking questions about the Pfizer vaccine, right? He says that white men should be able to have a conversation about any topic out there. This also includes everyone. Everyone should be able to have conversation. You shouldn't be complicit. You should be able to exit the matrix and not just suck into it, right? That's what he asks questions about. And he's also saying that, hey, he just happened to like Jordan Peterson because Jordan Peterson has said a lot of good things about men, he's given good advice to men per se. When he got into politics, that's when he fucked up. And you know what? Zachary Levi even acknowledges that. Right? Jordan Peterson's a shithead. But guess what? He wasn't always a shithead. Right? And again, I'm not saying Zachary Levi is this perfect guy. Again, I don't know. That's why I started off this video saying he's not. I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I don't know what his actual beliefs are. I know he's also very Christian. And by the way, again, I'm agnostic. I'm not a Christian. I used to be a Christian for the first 20 years of my life. Then eventually I stopped being Christian, right? But I'm also in the belief of respecting other people for their religion, for their beliefs, right? Whether you're atheist, Muslim, Christian, whatever, I respect you for whatever belief you have, as long as you're not harming anybody else. Now, yeah, there are Christians that are incredibly homophobic. There are Christians who are incredibly backwards thinking, right? But not all Christians. I've actually met a lot of Christians who are very respectful, very kind, right? And the same goes with atheists. The same goes with Muslims. The same goes with any religion that I've met, right? And so I hate when people categorize like one specific group and puts them in a certain label, just because you don't like that specific, group. Right? And that's the thing that really frustrates me. It's like a lot of these people online, like Wolfie and a lot of these people, they believe in supporting certain groups, but then kind of just exterminating others. And that's one of my frustrations. That's why I did feel very vocal to defend Zachary Levi. I actually had one of my YouTube colleagues on Twitter try to claim that Zack Snyder is evil because he casted Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher, Amber Heard, and now Zachary Levi. And I was like, what did Zachary Levi do that was so evil? First of all, with Ezra and Amber, how the fuck was Zach even supposed to know that that would have eventually happened? Right? Like, how do you even guess that? Right? And then with Ray Fisher, it's just tweets. Just ignore Ray Fisher. But with Zachary Levi, he didn't do anything evil. What is it that he did? Did he fucking shoot a baby in the head? Did he fucking spit on a disabled kid? Like, what did Zachary Levi do that is so evil? Right? But anyways, look, I'm learning about this. Maybe something will come later on that Zachary Levi maybe does have an evil belief, like he's an evil person. But thing is, with what we've had, I don't see him as an evil person. I see him more as a straight guy who, and when I say straight, I don't mean like sexual orientation. I mean like normal, like he's just a normal guy who likes certain things, all right, and he's just trying to figure things out. Like he doesn't come, like, yeah, I do question him about why he didn't correct Joe Rogan, but like, who fucking cares? Who cares? Right? It's like, the thing is, when you have this kind of belief, I'm sorry, but I don't think this person even has like a real world job. I think this person, someone who's online, maybe in college, maybe in high school, whatever, and they don't know how the real world works, right? In the real world, you're going to get a lot of shithead assholes who do not care about what you do on social media. You should be progressive and you should be supporting other communities like this, but you shouldn't just immediately just go in this path of saying this person's evil, especially when he's really nothing compared to actually evil people, right? And that's one of my issues with how people reacted to this. It just seems like a lot of people who are so terminally online that they don't actually know how the real world works. Guess what? I remember when I was in soccer, back when I was like 16, 17, guess what? My coach would call everyone the F slur. Like, if we weren't running fast enough, if we weren't doing anything, he would call everyone the F slur. Guess what? In the real world, people are going to call you this, call you that, in the real world. And you have to be able to go with it. You should be able to have conversations. You should be able to correct people. But you shouldn't also just label somebody something when we barely had anything to go by. People are already calling him monster. Like, y'all are acting like this is motherfucking Jeffrey Dahmer or fucking Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy or Ed Gein. Y'all are acting like this guy fucking murdered and raped people, when really all he did was ask questions about the Pfizer vaccine and just happened to like Jordan Peterson, because Jordan Peterson has said a lot of good things has said a lot of good advice for younger men, right? And the unfortunate thing is, right now there's not a lot of good role models for younger men. Instead, a lot of younger men are sucking up to Andrew Tate, a womanizer, rapist, So, and it's like, if you actually do care about changing society, you need to have these conversations. You should be able to be much smarter than this, right? If you actually do care, right? Maybe instead of labeling Zachary Levi a transphobe, maybe instead try to find out what beliefs he does have. Try to find out this, try to find out that, and then try to kind of conversate with him. Try to correct him on Twitter, correct him on DMs, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the only way someone's actually going to respect you and actually want to improve what their beliefs are. That's the only way. You can't just exterminate someone and tell them that they can't have the conversation. That's being too complicit to something you don't know. Imagine if I came to you, Wolfie. Imagine if I came to this person, Wolfie, and I said, let's say we're talking about a Hispanic guy getting arrested because he had a lot of cocaine in his trunk. Let's say that. Let's use that as an example. All right. Oh crap! I forgot Wolfie's Hispanic. Okay, let's just say Wolfie's white. Let's just go with that. Imagine you're white, Wolfie, and let's say a Hispanic person gets arrested for cocaine, and let's say Wolfie's like, oh, I think this person's bad for having this cocaine on him. Okay, imagine if I came around and said, you can't say that because you're white. It's like, you would look at me weirdly. Why would you go with that, right? Instead, you should be able to have the conversation with that person civilly and try to see what happens. You can't just take somebody out of it. Because if I came up to you and said that, you would look at me as dumb. You would think, wait, I'm not talking about his race. I'm talking about cocaine. The fuck are you on, right? But that's just my core belief. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you disagree or agree with me, I don't care. Comment down below. You should just be able to have the civil conversation about this. Especially when Zachary Levi has not really done anything evil. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one.
Where do you go to? Where do you go? Where do you go to? I wanna know. How do you do it? That thing you do. Follow you blindly, I'll be your fool. Cinderella, I think I'll find your